Here is something strange. When it comes to extreme heat, you are not a weak animal. You are one of the best-built creatures on the entire planet. Your body is a cooling machine. You have almost no fur, and your bare skin is covered in millions of sweat glands, a system for shedding heat so powerful that very few animals on Earth can match it. In the blazing sun, when most creatures have to stop, gasp, and hide, a human body can keep going. The desert, in other words, is not some alien place your body fears. It's closer to home than you think. Our species was forged in the hot, open landscapes of Africa. We are, in a very real sense, desert animals. And yet, a desert is one of the deadliest places a human being can ever set foot. That's the paradox. A body practically designed for heat, walking into a place that can kill it in a single afternoon, because the desert doesn't usually kill you the way you'd expect. It rarely kills you with the heat itself. It kills you with something else, something faster and far more merciless. So how did ancient humans survive the world's deadliest deserts? How did they walk into a furnace with no water, no shade, and no supplies, and come out the other side? How did they find water in a place with none, outendure the sun, and turn one of the most hostile environments on the planet into a home? The answer is one of the most impressive survival stories our species has ever told. And by the end of this video, I'll show you the single, simple object, something you could hold in one hand, that let humans live where there was no water at all. But first, you have to understand your own body, because it holds the first secret. Let's talk about the superpower you don't know you have: sweat. To most people, sweating is just an annoyance. It's what makes your shirt stick to your back on a hot day. But biologically, human sweating is one of the most extraordinary cooling systems in the entire animal kingdom. Your skin holds somewhere between 2 and 4 million sweat glands. When your body heats up, these glands push water onto the surface of your skin. As that water evaporates, it pulls heat directly off your body and carries it away into the air. It's evaporative cooling, the same principle that makes you feel cold stepping out of a swimming pool. And here's what makes it so powerful. You can do this while you move. Think about most other mammals. A dog, a lion, a horse. When they overheat, they mostly rely on panting to cool down. But an animal cannot pant effectively while sprinting at full speed. To really cool off, it has to stop. It has to rest. Its body forces it to slow down. You don't. Because your cooling doesn't depend on your breathing, you can shed heat and keep going at the same time. In the open heat over long distances, a human can just keep moving, while faster, stronger animals are forced to stop and cool down. And ancient humans turned this superpower into one of the most incredible hunting techniques ever devised. It's called persistence hunting. Here's how it worked, and it's been documented among peoples like the San of the Kalahari and runners in other hot regions. A hunter picks a target, an antelope, a kudu, some large, fast animal. That animal can easily outrun a human in a short sprint. It bolts away in seconds. But the human doesn't try to win the sprint. The human just follows. Walking, jogging, tracking. The animal runs, then stops to cool down because it's covered in fur and can't sweat the way we do. Just as it starts to recover, the human appears again, and it has to bolt once more, and again, and again. Under the punishing desert sun, hour after hour, the animal's body temperature climbs and climbs. It cannot dump the heat fast enough. Eventually, it collapses, not from the wound of a spear, but from overheating, hyperthermia. The hunter simply walks up to an animal that has been cooked from the inside by its own inability to sweat. Sit with how remarkable that is. In the heat, over distance, a human can run down almost any animal on Earth. Not because we're faster, but because we're better at not overheating. Our bodies were literally built to thrive in the hot, open landscape. So if our bodies are this well suited to heat, why is the desert so deadly? Why did it kill so many? Because the desert has a second weapon, and it has nothing to do with temperature. It's the absence of water, and this is the real enemy. Here is a rule worth remembering. A human can survive for weeks without food. But without water, in extreme desert heat, a person can be dead in a matter of days, sometimes even less. And your incredible sweating superpower has a terrible cost. Every drop of sweat that cools you down is water leaving your body. The very system that saves you from the heat is also draining you dry. In a scorching desert, you can lose liters of water an hour through sweat. Lose too much, and your body starts to fail. Your blood thickens, your temperature spikes, your mind grows confused. In the worst heat, a person with no water can go from healthy to dying in a single terrible day. So the entire challenge of desert survival comes down to one desperate question. Where do you find water in a place that seems to have none? And this is where ancient humans became something close to geniuses. Because the desert is not actually as empty as it looks. To an untrained eye, it's a lifeless waste. But to people who had lived there for thousands of generations, the desert was full of hidden water, if you knew exactly how to read it. The first trick was knowing where water hides. Ancient desert peoples learned to read the land like a map. A dry riverbed might look completely bone dry on the surface, but beneath that sand, water can still be trapped, seeping slowly underground. So they would dig, sometimes down through the sand until damp earth appeared, and slowly, precious water would gather in the hole. They knew about rock holes, natural hollows in stone where rain collected and stayed shaded from the sun, sometimes holding water for months after the last rainfall. They knew the low places where moisture gathered. They knew that certain plants only grow where water sits close beneath the surface, so a patch of green in the wasteland was a signal, a giant arrow pointing down toward hidden water. They read animals too, birds circling, animal tracks converging on a single point, the flight paths of doves at dawn and dusk. These could all lead a knowledgeable person straight to a water source that was otherwise invisible. And they got water from the plants themselves. In the Kalahari, people relied on things like the sama melon, a wild fruit full of water and moisture. Rich roots and tubers dug from the ground. In a land with no streams, a plant could be a canteen. The Sand people of southern Africa developed one of the most ingenious water techniques ever seen. It's called a sip well. Where water lay hidden in damp sand, they would push a hollow reed deep into the ground, pack sand around it, and then suck, patiently drawing tiny amounts of water up through the reed, out of sand that looked completely dry. They could pull drinkable water out of the earth itself, in a place where there appeared to be nothing at all. But finding water is only half the battle, because in the desert, water is not just scarce, it's scattered, and it's unreliable. A water source might be full 1 month and bone dry the next, so the greatest desert survivors didn't just find water, they banked it. And this brings me to the object I promised you at the very start, because one of the most brilliant survival tools in human history is something astonishingly simple: an eggshell, specifically the eggshell of an ostrich. An ostrich egg is huge, with a thick, tough shell that can hold well over a liter of liquid. Ancient peoples in Africa figured out that if you carefully make a small hole in the top, empty it, and clean it, you're left with a natural, durable, portable water bottle. A canteen provided by nature. And they used these ostrich eggshell canteens for tens of thousands of years. They would fill them with water, seal the opening with grass or wax, and carry their water with them across the burning landscape. But they did something even cleverer. They created water banks. In good times, when water was available, they would fill dozens of ostrich eggshells and bury them, hidden away at known locations across the desert. It was like planting a network of secret water stations throughout the wilderness. Then, when they traveled through that harsh country during the dry season, they knew exactly where their buried water was waiting. Think about what that means. They turned the entire desert into a giant map of hidden reserves. A person could set out across a landscape that would kill an outsider in a day and survive, because in their mind was the location of every buried eggshell, every rock hole, every hidden soak, a life-saving map that existed only in human memory. That humble eggshell, buried in the sand, was one of the keys that let humans conquer a world without water. But water was still only part of the problem, because the sun itself, the raw heat pouring down, could overwhelm even a well-hydrated body. So ancient humans learned to fight the sun, not with strength, but with intelligence and timing. The most important weapon against the desert heat was simply this: don't fight it head-on. The midday sun in a true desert is a killer, so the smartest thing to do is to not be active in it. Ancient desert peoples lived by the rhythm of the heat. They did their hard work, hunting, gathering, traveling, in the cooler hours. The early morning, the late afternoon, the night. And in the deadly heat of midday, they rested, in the shade of a rock, a tree, or a simple shelter, staying as still as possible while the worst of the sun passed overhead. This is behavioral thermoregulation. Instead of using their bodies to fight the heat, they used their choices, shifting their entire schedule to avoid the hours that could kill them. The desert had a deadly time, and they simply refused to be caught out in it. And here's something that surprises a lot of people. In extreme desert heat, covering up can actually keep you cooler than stripping down. It sounds backwards, but there's real logic to it. Loose, light clothing blocks the direct radiant heat of the sun from cooking your skin. It shades you, traps a layer of cooler air, and slows the rate at which you lose precious water. This is why people across the world's hottest deserts have traditionally worn flowing robes and head coverings rather than baring their skin to the sun. Ancient humans learned to shield their bodies from the sun's radiation, protecting both their skin and their water. They dug into the earth for coolness because just below the scorching surface, the sand is far cooler. They sought out every scrap of shade. They moved in the cool and hid in the heat. And in doing so, they turned the sun from an enemy that would kill them into a rhythm they could live inside. But behind all of these techniques, the water finding, the eggshell banks, the timing, the clothing, was one final thing, the single most important survival tool of all. And it wasn't a tool at all, it was knowledge. Because here's the truth about the desert. You could hand a modern person all the right gear, drop them in the Kalahari or the Australian outback, and most would still die within days. Not because they lacked equipment, but because they lacked the map. The knowledge of where the water is, when the rains come, which plants hold moisture, where the animals go, where the ancestors buried the eggshells. The Aboriginal peoples of Australia are perhaps the greatest desert survivors in all of human history. They have lived in some of the harshest deserts on Earth for tens of thousands of years, landscapes so brutal that early European explorers walked into them and simply died. And one of the ways they survived was by encoding their survival knowledge into memory, story, and song. Across vast stretches of desert, they held detailed mental maps of the land, including the locations of water sources spread across enormous distances. This knowledge was woven into what are often called song lines, pathways across the land preserved through story and song, passed down across generations. Think about what that really is. It's a survival database, a map of every waterhole across hundreds of miles of desert, stored not on paper, but in the human mind, and kept alive by being sung and told over and over, generation after generation. The desert lived inside their heads, and that is what let them live inside the desert. This is the deepest truth of desert survival, and it mirrors something profound about our species. Because your body gave you a head start. In the desert, unlike in the frozen north, your biology was already an incredible adaptation. The sweating, the endurance, the heat tolerance, these were gifts from evolution, forged in the African sun. But biology alone was never enough. A perfect sweating body still dies without water. Your body could handle the heat, but only knowledge could find the water. Only timing could dodge the sun, and only culture, the shared memory passed down through countless generations, could turn a deadly wasteland into a place a human being could call home. So how did ancient humans survive the deadliest deserts? They survived because they were built for the heat, and then they were smart enough to survive everything the heat threw at them beyond that. They used the incredible cooling power of their own bodies to run down prey the sun itself had exhausted. They read the empty land like a book and pulled water out of dry sand with a reed. They banked their water in buried eggshells hidden across the wilderness. They shifted their lives around the sun, working in the cool and hiding in the heat, shielding their skin beneath light coverings. And above all, they carried an invisible map, a vast memorized knowledge of the desert inside their minds, and passed it down so their children could survive too. Now think about that ostrich eggshell one more time, that simple buried canteen. It captures the whole story, because on its own, it's just a shell. It only becomes a lifesaver when combined with the knowledge of where to bury it, when to fill it, and where to find it again. The object was simple. The genius was in the mind that used it. You come from those minds. Every one of us is descended from people who looked at one of the most lethal environments on Earth, a place of no water and killing sun, and found a way not just to survive it, but to live in it, thrive in it, and pass down the secret of how. They were the children of the hot African sun, and when the deserts came for them, they answered with sweat, with cleverness, and with a map they carried in their heads. So here's my question for you. If you were dropped into a real desert tomorrow with no water and no gear, what do you think would get you first? The thirst, the sun, or the simple fact that you don't have the map they spent thousands of years building? Be honest in the comments. I read every single one. I'll see you in the next one. Pay attention. You were built for the sun, but you were saved by the mind.